Am I annoyed? Yes. Am I surprised? No. Hey guys, it's Jess from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with my reaction to the Goodreads Choice Awards for Romance. I asked on my Instagram, did people want my reaction to these awards or not? Are people annoyed with everyone talking about it? And overwhelmingly people said yes, please still do this video. I'm going to try to keep it under 10 minutes. I'm not going to harp on all of these. I have, though, felt comfort in the fact that every genre lover is angry about these awards. Daniel Green posted about the fantasy category, and Cecilia also posted a rant about the Goodreads hating manga and comics, and then Jessin already posted her commentary and Lacey posted her guessing. We're gonna get into it because of the way Goodreads is. So they posted their top 15 best romances of 2020 in this preliminary round, and you can do vote write-ins, which is another whole drama that I'll talk about, and people are disappointed. I'm disappointed every year. I even tweeted, when is Goodreads gonna learn what a romance is? Never. And I noticed, though, a lot of these are from Book of the Month as well, and they are categorized as romance on Book of the Month too. No. So I'm going to go through them and we'll talk about whether they should be on this list or not. I will say I am disappointed, and it's a big deal because making the Goodreads choice list, already 1 million people have voted. You are getting exposure to over 1 million people, not necessarily like per genre, because like I didn't look at all the genres that I wasn't interested in. I was looking primarily romance, I looked at fantasy, and then I looked at the YA category, so like I cared about those. But this is great exposure for authors, and Daniel Green said it in his video too. It is so frustrating when authors are put on there every year because of their name. I think fantasy had 3 books that aren't even released yet that are on that list. We have a Christina Lauren because it's Christina Lauren and it came out like 2 weeks ago. I knew there was going to be a Colleen Hoover. I knew Christina Lauren was going to be on here, and I'm not surprised by a few others that are on here. So let's go and talk about these. The first one popping up for me is One to Watch, and this one should not be on this list whatsoever. I have not read it yet, but it is not marketed as a romance in my opinion. Even when I heard about it, it's as romance on Book of the Month website, but this one, our main character goes on a reality show like The Bachelorette. It's about her being the first plus size contestant, and that's really the angle it takes. It's not the romance. I don't even know if she like ends up with one of the guys. Like, I don't even know if I would expect that based on how this book was marketed. So not happy that this is on this list. Not that any of these are bad books. Well, some of them, it's questionable based on the ratings I've seen. But this one, it just shouldn't be on this list. It's not a romance. Then we have A Rogue of One's Own by Evie Dunmore. And this is surprising. So I thought Goodreads really looks at how many times their books are shelved, and that's really how they choose the best romance. This one only has 5,700 ratings. That's not a lot. Colleen Hoover's book has like 60,000. 64,000. So this, I'm surprised, is on here, and I'm very disappointed this is our only historical romance. This one, I DNF'd this one. I wasn't a fan. I think there are so many other amazing historical romances, but this is in trade paperback. So I know a lot of people on Instagram said that Goodreads hates mass markets. Not a single mass market on this list. I love mass markets. I have so many mass market paperbacks. I love them, and for some reason some people don't, which is fine, but I really hate that Goodreads discriminates against mass market paperbacks. So we have so many amazing historical romances that came out this year. So many. And typically we have Sarah McLean and Lisa Kleypas show up on this list. I don't know if Eloisa James ever has, but we typically have them as write-ins. Not Cassandra. It's Chasing Cassandra, I think, is Lisa Kleypas' newest. And typically Tessa Dare, but she didn't come out with a book this year. Hers is pushed back till February. And I hope they show up in write-ins. And I think Alana Andrews, whatever that series is, it's fantasy, paranormal kind of. I think the 5th book came out. It's the green one. That's normally a write-in as well because it was last year. But in the preliminary round, we never have mass markets, which is sad. So I'm disappointed that this one is our only historical on this list because I didn't enjoy it. From Blood and Ash, I'm excited for. I love this book. It's one of my favorite books of the year. I didn't realize so many people had read it, as over 27,000 ratings on Goodreads. Now, I don't know if this was, I don't think this was traditionally published, but it's not published by a big publisher. It says Blue Box Press. Not sure what publishing company that is, but this is the closest I feel like we have to indie, because it feels like an indie published book, and I didn't know it was like from a publisher, but it's not from a big publisher. So super happy it's on here, though I don't know how they differentiate between fantasy and romance, because from the Earth and Blood and whatever, Sarah J Maas's book, I love that too, but it's in the fantasy category, not the romance. This is pretty much the same genre, so I'm surprised that they're in different groups. Then we have Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. Love seeing an MM romance on this list by a male author, though I didn't personally love this book. I know a ton of people have, and it has a 4.2 average rating. So I'm glad that this made it on here. I do think we have a ton of diversity in the picks this year, so that's great with authors, and we also have a sapphic romance as well. But not my favorite, but I can see why this has made the list. Then we have the Happy Ever After playlist by Abby Jimenez. I love this book. It is super popular. It's probably one of the most hyped forever romance books that came out. I will say a lot of these books that are on this list are because the publishing company put a lot of money and marketing behind the book, and that's why so many people have shelved it, and that's why it's on this list. Is that fair? They already have a whole team of people behind them pushing them, so now that we're giving them even more exposure through Goodreads, that's the whole conversation with indie romances. But I really enjoy this one. I gave it 4 stars. I think I gave it 4.5, but it has a 4.2 average. I see why this is on here. It's definitely a romance. Cool. The next one's probably the most controversial. It is In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle. I've heard this doesn't even have an HEA or Happily Ever After, and that is the formula of romance. To be categorized as a romance, you have to have a happy ever after. That is like one of the 2 things you have to have in a romance. So I don't think this should be on here. It does have 83,000 ratings, which I didn't even know that many people have read this book. I didn't read it, and I don't know. I don't know if I'd be interested in reading it, but it's on here, and it definitely shouldn't be. Next, I'm also kind of annoyed, and Jessin put it really well in her video, so go watch her video. Party of Two by Jasmine Guillory. I feel like Jasmine Guillory makes this list every year, and I think we have so many better books by authors of color out there, and she definitely lately has put a bad taste in my mouth with how she's acted and spoken of the romance community, and I feel like a ton of marketing has been put behind her, which is great. I like that we have more authors of color, but she has said some things in interviews where she's paved the way for Black romance authors. No, you haven't. We have had authors like Brenda Jackson, Beverly Jenkins, paving the way since the 90s, so I feel like she gives herself too much credit, but she gets a ton of attention. And I don't love her books, and I don't think that they are the best books out there, and she also, I think most of them are interracial couples, and I would really love to see a Black love romance on here. I don't think we have a single one where both main characters are Black. I would love to see that on this list. Next is You Had Me At Ola by Alexis Daria. This one had a lot of marketing behind it as well. It was Entertainment Weekly cover reveal. I personally really didn't like this. I think I gave it 2 stars, but it's a romance. I like the diversity. People enjoyed it. It has a 3.82 rating, which I feel like a priority for this list should be you have to have over a 4-star. I'm pretty sure it's only 3.5, but if you're the best of the year, people should be loving your book, and it should be over a 4-star rating. Not many books on this list have over a 4-star rating, but it's fine. It's on here. It's fine. We have to have Colleen Hoover. Regretting You is on here. I really enjoyed Regretting You. I'm happy we have Regretting You and not Heartbones, because Heartbones just came out, and Regretting You is one of those that came out at the very end of 2019, so it makes it onto this list because it's like November 2019 to November 2020, and this one has a 4.25 rating on Goodreads. Over 64,000 people have read it. I'm okay with this being on here. It definitely does have romance in it. I don't know. So both stories, it's about a mother and daughter. Both stories have romance. I don't know if I would say it is a romance. It does kind of dabble into kind of the women's fiction area, but I would say it's a romance. But this one is published by Montlake, so it is not self-published, but I'm glad we also only had one Colleen Hoover and not both of them on this list. Next is Beach Read by Emily Henry. I really love this. I'm guessing this is gonna win. It has over 86,000 ratings and a 4.06 rating. I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. I do think it's a romance. A lot of people say it's not a romance. I personally do think it's a romance. The romance was pretty heavy in here. Romances do have heavy themes and explore other things other than the romance in their novels, so I think it was okay that they both explored their grief and their writing in this book along with their romance, so I did think it was a romance. So I'm glad it's on here. It's probably gonna win. It's got the most reads. People vote for what they've read. Yeah. This one I don't see as a romance, but again, Book of the Month said it was a romance and it had that out. It is 28,000 ratings. It's Two Lives of Lydia Bird by Josie Silver. I think Josie Silver's made it before, possibly. I don't remember if her One Day in December did. This one, I don't know. I haven't read it. People say it's not really a romance. It's more of a women's fiction. So it's got 3.82 rating. I don't think it should be on here. This one I've read, it's definitely not a romance. It is The Switch by Beth O'Leary. The Flat Share was more romance than this. This one, not a romance at all. It is about a woman and her grandmother switching places, switching flats, and living in each other's lives. Not like as each other, but like taking on each other's responsibilities. And yes, both of them do end up having a romance, but that is nowhere near what this book is about. And the romances don't come in until like the very end. So this, as much as I enjoyed it, I think I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It's got a 4.11 rating on Goodreads. This is fiction. This is not romance. So I liked it. But no, not in the romance category. The next thing is Something to Talk About by Meryl Wilsner. It only has 5,000 ratings and it has a 3.65 rating. I had a copy of this, but I saw so many bad reviews because of the romance. They said the romance didn't really develop. They were more friends. There wasn't really a lot of chemistry between them. So I never picked it up. I don't think that this should have made the list. It doesn't have that many ratings and it has low ratings. So I feel like it was put on here because it's Berkeley's first sapphic romance and people were excited about that, but as the best of the year, I don't think it should be on here. I feel like they should have delved into the indie world and looked more at their sapphic romances than this one. The next one's the one I voted for. It is Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. Love this book. Definitely a romance. People love Talia Hibbert. I love Talia Hibbert. Definitely, definitely, definitely. So good. Yes, I'm so happy this is on the list. But it only has 14,000 ratings, which surprises me. I thought there would be more. Oh, but it does have a 4.17 rating on Goodreads. The last one shouldn't be on this list. It is Inner Holidays by Christina Lauren. It just came out. It has 3,000 reviews. It's a 3.92 rating. Why is this on here? It literally just came out. But Christina Lauren makes it every year. It was either this or the Honey Don't list, and that one tanked. So I guess they decided to go with the newer one, and they're not gonna win. I am surprised J.R. Ward's not on here. She typically makes it on the list. Maybe she'll be a write-in. I don't know. There were a couple other, I was surprised. Dear Ava by Ilsa Madden Mills has a lot of ratings. It has over 20,000 ratings. Shocked it's not on here. Shocked LJ Shen's not on here. None of the indies got representation on this list, and the indie industry is booming. Katie Robert had tweeted about this saying she knows indie authors who make 6 or 7 figures. Their books sell and they have readers. People love the indie community. Goodreads doesn't, apparently. So I'm really disappointed that we don't have more indie romances on here. Definitely could name a bunch off the top of my head that should be on this list. Check out Lacey's where she had a bunch on there. I think she even said she thought 2 LJ Shen books would make it here. I probably am guessing LJ Shen will be written in, but I do know authors that are, I think it's Elise Kova, I'm gonna call her out, put in her Facebook group that people should be writing her book in that hasn't even come out yet. And that, I don't think that's okay, because then that means authors with the biggest followings are going to get the most write-ins, which is not fair, but the whole Goodreads system isn't fair because these are not the best books of 2020. So very interesting. Let me know your thoughts, and I probably maybe on Instagram and here, I'm going to ask you what your favorite book of 2020 is. What's your favorite romance of 2020? What do you think should be on this list, and what should I read? So I'm going to not do, last year I read all the nominees, all 20 of them, because I hadn't just read, I think like 5 or 6 I needed to read to get all 20. I'm not gonna do that because this is crap. I'm like, this is not a romance list. I'm not gonna put myself through that. I really don't want to read Jasmine Guillory's new book. I don't want to read In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle. I DNF'd Evie Dunmore's book. Like, I don't feel like reading these. So I want you to tell me what your favorite romance of 2020 is. What should have been on this list? Think about indies too. I want to get a good mix of indies, good mix of mass markets, and I'll also ask on my Instagram and I'll do a video reading your guys' favorite books of 2020 because that's what matters. Not Goodreads lists where I don't even know how they got this because some of them don't even make sense. Some of them have 5,000 ratings. Some of them have 60,000 ratings, 80,000, like, and some of them have 3.6 and some of them have 4.2. What do they qualify as the best of 2020? I don't know, but I've been rambling for too long. That's my spiel. Let me know how you felt. I would love to hear. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.